Welcome to the Dad Code Podcast. This is DDS, where real fans come for real sports talk and no BS. We are your hosts, Blake Melton, Bradley Newberry, and Matthew Parker has the day off. Newberry, what's going on, man?
Glorious day here. Glad to talk about some college football in this episode here. We're going to start with Rocky Top. My only hope, Parker, is that you didn't spend any money on betting on the line, which I believe was 25.5. Going into that game, all three of us said that was a ridiculous line.
It just seemed kind of far-fetched. Right. You know, I mean,
I didn't put any money on this game at all.
Nothing. What I think everybody was thinking when they saw that line was they're saying that Tennessee's not going to score.
Yeah.
And I mean, that wasn't what happened. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing when you look at it.
Let's see, the final score, Alabama 52-24. And I don't even think that tells the story of this game.
No.
I'm going to start with a topic here. The Alabama Crimson Tide turned penalties into points.
They did. You know, we're looking here at the penalty yards, 12 for 98 for Tennessee. Pretty uncharacteristic. But honestly, there were several that, I mean, look, I'm not a huge conspiracy theory guy or anything like that. I do believe that there is Alabama bias in a lot of the referees and the way they call some of these games. I mean, for example, there were 2 back-to-back false start penalties on a wide receiver, the same wide receiver. And I never saw it and they never showed a replay. And I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it seems kind of unlikely. I know that Bryant-Denny's a big stadium, but Neyland Stadium's a big stadium too.
What's that number?
102-455. But the point is, there were some other penalties. Jeremy Banks gets tagged for a late hit out of bounds, which was just, that's typical Jeremy Banks bullshit that, you know, he overplays things. And so some of that is kind of built in that you expect, but there were some plays, some penalties that I feel a little bit of the Alabama bias. But
I mean, the false start ones are what we call drive killers.
This was after they made Alabama punt.
Right.
And they have the ball in reasonable field position. They get called for literally 3 penalties in a row. Holding, false start, false start.
Ouch. I mean, I know UT's offense is high-powered, high-octane, but making that up?
You don't have a play for 2nd and 26.
No.
So
another talking point I wanted to get to was, where was the run game?
Well, this was the story of the game.
Right.
The offensive line for Tennessee got handled.
Well,
absolutely handled.
What were the injuries coming into this? Was it still the same mix and match?
We got Cooper Mays, our center, was back, which helped tremendously, but he is an undersized center. He just knows all the protections and all the calls and everything, so he's just kind of a smart player. Cade Mays, our big right tackle, he was out.
Evans, he was back.
Tyon Evans he was in. He didn't start, but he did play.
Okay. Yeah.
We had our full complement of running backs, but the problem is Alabama's defensive line was getting such an enormous push against our offensive line that, I mean, it kind of nullified our running game just because we just could not get any kind of rhythm going. We just never got a push up front at all.
Was this another situation where you could visibly see them rotating defensive linemen in and out? So is this coming like wave after wave after wave, or was it just their starters beating the UT ball starters?
They just got whipped.
Because we know about
the bottom line.
Depth advantages Alabama.
Yeah.
I think depth advantages about any of the higher profile.
We have a few players that are playing on our offensive line that should not be starting, is the reality. I mean, we did get some. It kind of changed our play calling for sure. It made us I wouldn't say it made us one-dimensional, but it made us have to throw the ball a little more consistently. It made Hendon Hooker have to be more of a part of the running game than we usually.
Well, look, that's a good segue, though. Look, as much as the running game struggled, that turned the attention to Hendon Hooker, and we saw some big plays from Hooker, right?
Look, and the more I see Hendon Hooker play, the more of a Hendon Hooker fan I become.
The more you don't want to see Milton anymore.
I mean, this guy owns this team. He is taking ownership of this team, and he is winning over his teammates. He's winning over the fans. He is just absolutely winning every Tennessee fan's heart at this point because, I mean, he's playing well. He was 19 of 28, 282, 3 touchdowns. He had an interception, but it was an incorrect route run by his receiver.
Is he best friends with Tillman? Because I don't know much about him, but I know he had a big monster day, like Tillman, over 150 yards.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman he was all over. He's just a big, strong guy, big 6'3", 230-pound guy. He can run and he can jump.
That's what the NFL teams want.
Yeah,
they want
absolutely.
Size, speed, and that go up and get it.
I mean, him and Javonte Payton though were really the only ones that could really. I mean, he only had 2 receptions. Javonte Payton, that is. Outside of that, I mean, it was just kind of dump off here, dump off there. But I mean, we made some stuff happen. I'm not saying that. This is the thing that I was telling Bradley before we came on air here. You know, and this has been echoed by some other folks on YouTube and on different podcasts as well, that it's nice to be angry again about losing.
No, I mean, we saw tweets going all over the place. Hey, it's nice for the first time in over a decade to see passion and heart from this UT program where you said, you know, sometimes it just seems like they're just going through the motions.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, we're getting our ass kicked up. We'll get them next year. You just wait till we get our – no. This coaching staff is trying to win right now. They are coaching what they have. And they're coaching their ass off, and these players are playing their ass off. And you can see it in their post-game reactions. The guys are visibly pissed off. And that's something that's been missing in the past, particularly here recently with Tennessee football is I don't want to say that any particular kid or player or whatever is out for themselves, but they're less concerned about Tennessee football and they're more concerned just about how their game was. But in this situation, you could definitely tell that the players are pissed because you look at it. Pitt, we got beat, but we were in the game. Ole Miss, there's a lot of arguments there to be made that we should have won the game.
You were leading Florida in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, Alabama, we were leading going into the freaking fourth quarter. We just don't have enough, as many athletes as these teams. We are 30 scholarships players short compared to other teams. You know, they only have 70 scholarship players right now. So, I mean, it's particularly on the defensive side, that's tough because, I mean, we're playing guys on defense that, you know, should not be playing right now. I mean, we're playing freshmen. We're playing guys that used to be a running back and are now linebackers. I mean, in the SEC, you don't play freshmen on defense. You just don't. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough.
Have you been reading my notes?
No.
Because every time you talk about something, you segue into what I'm wanting to say next. But no, I mean, it does feel a lot different. But what I was going to bring up next about the reaction was, boy, third down for both teams was a big story, man. Yep. I've got Alabama converting an insane 15 out of 20 on third downs, and UT was only 2 of 12.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and say this is kind of the first full game that I've seen Bryce Young play. Bryce Young's for real. I'm not going to say I think Matt Corral's probably better. But for Bryce Young being as young as he is, he's got some skills. He reads defenses really well. Again, how many rushing yards did he have? He had 42 rushing yards. I'm surprised it was just that many.
Right.
I thought it would be way more. I mean, every third down, it goes to the lack of athletes on defense. You know, anytime we'd be on defense on third down, we'd go back into protection. We'd have him at a decent, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12.
He gets just enough.
And he would just step up and run the ball. You know,
we saw that the previous week.
Yeah, we don't have the linebacking core in particular, the safeties to be able to hold, to stay with these guys speed wise. So it's tough. I mean, Bryce Young's a good young player. Like I said, I think Matt Corral's probably better. I think he's a more savvy quarterback, but I can definitely see Bryce Young's got a pretty bright future particularly with the weapons he has around him in an Alabama program that just seems to reload every year.
They do. They reload, and my team, the Florida Gators, their reloading ability is definitely being tested. But overall, for me, I was impressed. I mean, there's no moral victory, obviously, but when you look up at the scoreboard and I see multiple times in the game, UT retakes the lead.
Yeah,
UT retakes the lead. I'm like, that's some fighting there.
There's fight there, and that has not been there in the past. It's just been kind of, well, I don't have my players that I want here, so I'm going to just kind of get through this year and blah blah. That's why I wasn't sure about Josh Heupel at the beginning of the year just because I didn't know enough about him. But dude, he's doing what he can with what he has, and he's trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, really. And that's not a slight on any of the Tennessee players. It's just that for his system, I mean, he has to have a certain type of player in certain positions, and he's doing. I mean, this coaching staff is doing an amazing job. They really are, particularly with a team that, I mean, could very easily be 6-2 right now. They could be 7-1 if they pull out the Pitt victory. If, the referees didn't hose us in the Ole Miss game with the scoop and score, God knows what would happen here. I mean, now we're talking about going up to Kentucky and playing another winnable game for the first time in a long time. People think that we can beat these top tier teams, and I can't believe I'm saying Kentucky might be a top tier team, but at the moment they are. Yeah. So it's fun right now being a Tennessee fan, where it's been absolute torture in the past.
Yeah. Kudos to Vols. It was a good showing, even though the final score doesn't really show it. But
yeah, the score, don't get it confused, because we got into a situation where, and this is the other thing I like about Heupel. Heupel goes for it. He goes all out. So we ran into a few times where we were going for it in our own territory, and they had a short field, and it was just quick scores, which is part of the downside of that offense, like we talked about before. But when you're backed up to your own end zone and it's late in the game, you got to score points. That's what a lot of those 28 points in the fourth quarter were. So.
We're going to talk about some history. Can you believe it? History was made this past weekend when Penn State lost to Illinois 20-18. But it wasn't just because they lost, Blake. This was a game that showcased 9 overtime periods. But even before that, in this wonderful Big Ten football, I mean, these teams are not scoring. Mistakes all over the place. It's dreadful.
Yeah.
Unwatchable. I'm thankful I didn't try to watch it. But it's just a bunch of garbage leading into the historical 9 overtime period game.
These are some strange stats I'm looking at here.
Yeah, you've got them pulled. I mean,
so passing yards for Illinois, 38 yards. Mm-hmm. Rushing yards, 357.
Okay. High school football.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like read option left, read option right. 165 passing yards for Penn State, 62 rushing for 227 total. You're not going to beat very many people doing that. Penalties, 7 for 81 for Penn State. Time of possession, I mean, good grief. Even with Illinois losing 2 fumbles and throwing 1 interception to no turnovers on the Penn State side, they still found a way to lose just because they couldn't generate any offense.
So I had to do some research around this overtime stuff. And apparently it's new.
It is.
It was new
to me. I
don't
know that I really understand it.
So here it is. I've got it pulled up right here. It's in overtime. The first 2 overtime periods are played like normal, like we grew up watching.
Line up on the whatever and go.
After the first 2, if it's still tied, then they go to what's called a 2-point conversion shootout, almost like hockey.
Okay.
Thus, we end up with this dreadful score, 20-18. I mean, if we would have thought back in the day, 9 overtimes, you're looking at a score of like 80-78. You remember how they used to get
Yeah.
inflated like that?
Yeah.
But this is 2 normal overtime rule periods, then followed by the 2-point conversion shootout.
That just sounds so difficult to. How do you? I don't know that teams have that many plays for 2 yards and in. Run left, run right, run outside, run inside, or run outside left, run outside right, roll left. I mean, they had to go through the whole playbook on the short yardage.
And this Big Ten commentator said, if you were like me and had to watch this over 4-hour game, I want to truly apologize to you.
I mean,
and this is coming straight from the guy that covers these games. He said it's just one of the most asinine things he's watched in a long time.
I mean, look at this box score.
It's awful.
It starts at overtime 4. They ran out of room on the Google
but
box score.
That just means that neither one of these teams are efficient.
No.
It was just a bunch of failure out there. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I mean, so much for the shootout. Nobody could convert anything.
Yeah, this was a pool noodle situation. I could not have. I don't think I could have watched this. I saw some of it at the very beginning, and I mean, the more I watch Penn State, the more I realize that they're just not very good.
Nah,
they're just in a weak conference.
No, I don't know that we will have to talk about James Franklin in Penn State.
No, anymore. You might be talking about him wearing some purple and gold here before too long.
Uh-oh.
Never know. There's rumors.
He's saying it here first on DDS.
There might be some rumors out there.
We'll have to get Parker's take on that one. Let's go out west. Oregon versus UCLA. Yours truly was the only one that picked Oregon.
Yep.
The boys were going with Chip Kelly. Oregon holds on, I shall say, 34-31 in the afternoon tilt on the West Coast.
Yeah, this was. This was just a good.
They
game.
said it would be fun.
Yeah,
and
this is a
lots
good
of offense
game.
was put up, of course.
These were two very evenly matched teams. I think is what it came down to, and that's kind of how it played out. I mean, not a lot of frivolous penalties or anything like that. You know, both teams had the same kinds of turnovers. You know, one had, they had one fumble, 2 interceptions each. So it wasn't like there was a huge difference. I mean, UCLA obviously ran way more plays. They ran 91 plays to their 63.
Yeah, something changed because I looked up at this game early and it was 14-0 UCLA, and I was like, oh, God, this is going to be a blowout. But something changed after 14-0.
Yeah, I mean, that was early on. And, before they went into the half, they went in down 3, did Oregon.
Right,
and
so they did a little turnaround on
They
quarter 2 here.
Yeah, and then it just looks like UCLA came out flat and out of the locker room, and hey, it just looks like a good game. That's all I can say.
Yeah, we
that's
thought
what college,
it'd be fun.
That's what college football should be about.
I think we even said the field goal game, and
yeah,
there it is.
I don't mind these kinds of games. I mean, this is this was a good game with 2 evenly matched teams. I really enjoyed it. I don't mind how it ended. I mean, that's football. Isn't it amazing, though, how important kicking has become in football? Not just in pros, but in college, too.
It is
if you have a good kicker in college, you have such a weapon.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say the same word, weapon.
Yeah.
But doesn't that seem weird to say? Kicking the punter. God, we've mentioned the punter for Iowa as the MVP of that game.
Seriously. I mean, it is a game
place
changer.
Kickers.
Being able to flip field position, or being able to kick a ball, only if you get to the 35, you're able to kick a field goal and make it and get points on the board. Man, that's a game changer.
Well, you know who doesn't have many weapons? Clemson.
Nope.
I think Daddy predicted.
Mm-hmm.
This was a little one-on-one matchup with Parker going with Clemson +3, if I remember correctly. And you had Pitt -3 saying they're putting the final nails in the Clemson season and coffin.
Yep.
And by gosh, that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't know when everybody's going to start listening to Daddy. Every now and then Daddy has some ideas. Daddy has some feelings. But, I mean, this is just it kind of played out the way that I thought it would.
27-17 Pitt.
I mean,
that loss against Pitt now from UT doesn't look so bad, right?
No, well, I mean, I think Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback. He's nothing spectacular. He just manages the game well. He reads coverages. He knows where his outlets are, and he gets it out of his hand.
Does DJ?
Well, DJ is struggling.
I mean, I didn't see any touchdowns, right?
No, 2 interceptions, though. 12 of 25, 128, 2 interceptions. I mean, no rushing help whatsoever. He was the second leading rusher with 50 yards. The leading rusher had 52 yards. I mean, and
ETN's not coming back through the door.
No. And it's just, and the thing is we had to hear all year about how good Clemson's defense was.
And they showed well against Georgia in week 0.
I mean, and maybe they are good. Maybe they're just done. Like, you talked about, these are college kids. When you talked about Florida, these are college kids. Sometimes they quit.
What are we playing for?
Exactly. If they're not going to play for a natty, then they don't really care. And I mean, it's hard to argue against that, looking at this. I mean, it's just all one-sided. There's nothing in Clemson's favor here whatsoever. I mean, I just had a feeling, and Clemson was trending one way. Pittsburgh is trending the other way. And you know what? Pittsburgh deserves that 17 rank. They might deserve better. 6-1. 6-1.
I've got 2 stats that Parker would enjoy. This was the first time Clemson has lost 3 games before November since 2010.
Oh, wow.
And one more stat. That loss, that was the first double-digit loss to an ACC opponent since losing 28-6 to Georgia Tech way back in 2014. So history was made, Clemson, but not for the right reasons.
Yeah, when does Dabo's job start to get hot? When does the seat he's sitting on get hot?
Not yet.
Do they have to go 4-6 or whatever, 4-8?
Not yet.
Or is it going to be a whole nother year?
Too much goodwill. I don't even think it's close.
It's funny because, in other programs and other conferences around the world, that your seat gets hot.
It just matters more?
Sometimes, yeah, it just matters. It just means more.
Hey.
Your goodwill only goes so far.
Does Miami's win 31-30 over number 18 NC State matter?
For me, this is just one fraudulent team beating another.
The U is back.
I mean, so
1 point victory.
1 point victory.
Are they even at 500 yet with their record?
No, I'm not. I mean, it's like, what am I supposed to be in?
They beat a ranked team.
So what? They shouldn't have been ranked.
NC State?
No. Why?
They're the Wolfpack.
So what? Who do they play? What conference do they play in?
They play Duke.
Yay.
And North Carolina.
Yay.
Georgia Tech.
How's North Carolina doing?
You me keep naming off these powerhouse
exactly.
teams.
I mean, that's my thing is you're telling me that Miami's excited about beating
yes,
that
they
team.
are.
I mean, that shows you where they are.
They partied all night in South Beach.
That just shows you where they are as a program because honestly, I mean, if I'm Miami, I don't even think twice about beating North Carolina freaking State.
They had to.
I guess they do.
It took all their efforts to win by one at home.
They're doing everything they can to try to get bowl eligible. Well, I'm not impressed. 2 fraudulent teams playing each other. That's all I'm saying.
There's a team here, West End, Nashville, that will not be bowl eligible.
Nope.
The last team we're going to touch on here in the college reaction show, the Vanderbilt Commodores, that big home field advantage, they go down 45-6 against Mississippi State. What in the world?
Oh, man. I mean, and this is kind of the way I feel about the Florida victory against Vanderbilt, too, is you look at it and you're like, yeah, they killed them. But, at some point, it's like, did they really kill him by enough?
They don't.
I mean, it's, but don't get me wrong, I'm not reading anything into this. I mean, it's hard to keep focus against a team as bad as Vanderbilt is. I mean, 155 total yards from scrimmage.
Did that say 9?
That says 9 rushing yards, 146 passing yards. I mean, this is
dreadful. We knew it
1 of 11 on third down.
We knew it was coming, though. We knew all of this was coming. It's just, it hurts the eyes to see this actually happening.
And Mississippi State even threw 2 interceptions. I mean, it's just
maybe we gave Seals too much credit at the prediction show that we did, but it's proven to be a dud. I mean, we thought him coming back with all of his wide receivers might be something.
Seals didn't even play quarterback. He did. Some guy named Mike Wright played.
The right stuff.
And Jeremy Mousa. It didn't do any good for him, but
good luck on the West End,
I guess. I mean, looks like Mississippi State played 3 quarterbacks because they were just trying to get every one of their starters out of there by the end of the game.
Why not? That's what every team's doing with Vandy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what kind of tempers my thing when I say, did they beat them by enough? It's like, well, I mean, you only bring so many backup players when you come. So it's like, I do want to try to say his name, Joe Quavius Marks. Joe Quavius had him a decent game, 8 catches for 33. Joe Quavius.
God, and he had some rushing yards too.
He did.
He's multi.
He did. So,
all right.
Actually, his receiving was 4 for 48. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Good game. Good game.
I guess so. We'll have more to react to with next week's schedule.
But
this one, my main takeaways: Vols, not too bad. I saw them with the lead multiple times.
Saw some fire.
Sorry for anyone that was watching the 9 overtime debacle with Big Ten football. We don't recommend watching Big Ten football on this channel.
I'd rather you watch the Mississippi Vanderbilt game.
And Oregon UCLA was fun.
That was a fun game. But hey guys, thanks for joining us on this Our College Reaction Show. Be sure to check us out on on Twitter at DDS Sports Talk. Leave us a comment there. Let us know what you think about Tennessee. See, are you happy with the effort level? Do you like the coaching staff? What do you think about, is it nice to be mad again about losing? But anyways, other than that, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe there. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the notification bell for updates on new videos being posted. Anything else?
Yep. From our friend Matthew Parker, Iowa still sucks.
Yep. Go Big Orange. You guys be well.